Have you ever stopped to think about how you feel when the subject is death? No matter your age or religion, there's a kind of silent fear that surrounds us all, the natural, almost instinctive anxiety about the end of life. It's as if a dark hole is hidden behind a door we haven't opened yet, and that door is often pushed open little by little over the years as we witness departures, illnesses, and the inevitable passage of time. But what really causes such deep anguish? Is it the unknown, the loss of what we love, or the idea that we'll simply cease to exist? These questions afflict those in their later years, as well as those who care for, accompany, and love these people. If you're perhaps a caregiver, a child, a grandchild, or even someone over 60, has your heart ever raced just thinking about this reality? Don't worry, this emotion is more common than you imagine, and it's a sign that we've touched upon one of the most fundamental questions of the human experience. And here's a question for you. What if we could look at death differently? A gaze that doesn't paralyze or cause panic, but brings calm, serenity, and even hope. Stay with me, because in this video, we're going to explore this delicate topic together to help you transform that fear into a profound and liberating understanding. Before we continue, I want to invite you to like this video because it really helps our work, and of course share in the comments what your biggest question or feeling is when you think about death. Your participation will greatly enrich this conversation. Also, subscribe to the channel to receive content that brings comfort and clarity to difficult topics like this. Shall we start this journey together? To guide us in this deep reflection, I want to introduce a voice that many consider a true light in understanding life and death. Have you ever heard of Louise Hay? She was a woman who, with her gentle but firm wisdom, brought comfort and hope to thousands of people around the world. Louise wasn't just a motivator. She was a pioneer in showing how our emotions, thoughts, and attitudes have a transformative power, including over how we live and especially how we face death. Louise Hay didn't treat death as a frightening end, but as a natural stage of existence, a necessary passage, a transition that happens to everyone without exception. Her approach was humanized, free of dogmas, without spiritual impositions, without exaggerated fears, just pure acceptance and the understanding that our consciousness goes beyond the physical body. Imagine for a moment being able to look at death with the same serenity we would look at the sunrise or a beautiful flower blooming. That's the invitation Louise Hay extends to us. It's not about simply ignoring fear or pretending it doesn't exist. It's more about embracing that fear gently, allowing questions to arise, and slowly learning to accept that there's still something much greater beyond what we can touch or see. If there's one message that resonates deeply in her words, it's this. You are not alone. Many people, especially those in their golden years or caring for someone in that phase, share this uneasiness. And that's why listening to these reflections can help calm the mind, soothe the heart, and prepare the soul for when the transition happens. So let's do something together now. How about we try to change the meaning of death in our minds? Most of us were raised, perhaps unconsciously, to associate death with the absolute end, definitive loss, emptiness. But what if there was a different way to face it? A way that doesn't erase fear, but transforms it into understanding and peace? In psychology, we call this cognitive restructuring, the ability to change how we interpret an event to reduce its negative emotional impact. In the case of death, this technique can be applied to stop seeing it as an enemy and start recognizing it as a natural and inevitable phase of life. It's not a sad ending, it's a transition, a change of state. Imagine life as a beautiful story divided into chapters. Death isn't simply the end of the book, it's the turning point to another chapter we can't read yet. It could be a passage to another form of existence, a return to something greater, or simply the conclusion of one story so another can begin elsewhere in a different way. This new vision isn't just comfort for those close to death. It's a powerful tool for those who survive, for family members and caregivers who unexpectedly lose a loved one. This understanding can change how grief is dealt with, making it less frightening, more embracing, and comforting. Another important point in this positive redefinition is remembering that death, although inevitable, doesn't erase everything we were and left behind. Our actions, our teachings, the love we leave behind, are marked forever, forming an invisible but felt continuity. The end of the physical body isn't the end of the connection we have with the people around us. If you're watching this video and are over 60, or are a caregiver dedicating your time and love to someone in that age group, know that this message is especially for you. Because we know, and you might feel it intensely, that this stage of life brings a unique set of emotional, physical, and spiritual challenges. As we age, death stops being a distant idea and becomes a constant, even if silent, presence. Often, news of a friend who passed away, or even a medical appointment, makes our hearts race and our doubts increase. Questions often remain unasked aloud. What will happen to me? Am I prepared? What if I feel pain or loneliness? For you caring for an elderly person, the scenario is equally challenging. The responsibility, emotional exhaustion, and uncertainty about how to help at such a delicate time can feel like an almost unbearable weight. But know that this anguish is also a human and valid response to this great mystery. What I mean is that you're not alone on this journey. And what's more, throughout this video, we'll walk together so that the passage of death is seen not as a leap in the dark, but as a path that can be illuminated by serenity and acceptance. After all, nobody wants to suffer alone. Nobody wants to feel afraid without a friendly embrace. By recognizing who you are today, a person with history, memories, desires, and dreams, and by honestly looking at the time you've lived, will open the door to an understanding that embraces all the complexity of life at this stage. Because deep down, we all seek something greater, inner peace, meaning for our journey, and the certainty that somehow we continue. This is the complete text for the first 4 topics, balancing emotion, empathy, authority, and reflection to capture the audience's attention from the start. Take a deep breath for a moment. Forget for a few moments the fast pace of life, the judgments, the fixed concepts. You're not here to change your beliefs or adopt a new philosophy. None of that. This encounter isn't a lesson, a sermon, or an imposition. This video is a safe space, made with care so you can reflect freely. Here there's no right or wrong, there's just you, and an essential question: what does death mean to you? This question, so simple yet so profound, doesn't demand an immediate answer. On the contrary, it's an invitation, a gentle whisper for you to look more closely within yourself and welcome whatever arises. Fear? That's okay. Sadness? It's legitimate. Resentment? Understandable. Peace? How beautiful. Everyone feels it differently. Every path is unique, and precisely for that reason, we're not here to push any ready-made answers, but to open windows within you. During our lives, we hear many stories about death. Some are scary, others almost magical, and some, perhaps most, are silences. Many people avoid talking about it, thinking it attracts sadness, bad luck, or suffering. But death doesn't feed on our interest or our avoidance. It just exists. Not talking about it doesn't prevent it from coming. And talking about it, far from causing despair, can, surprisingly, bring relief. Louise often spoke about the power of words. When we name an emotion, it begins to lose its grip on us. When we say, "I'm afraid of death," or "I don't want to leave with regrets in my heart," something already shifts within us. It's not about conquering fear, but about facing it and embracing it as part of the experience of being alive. So my proposal right now is, listen with your heart. Imagine we're sitting side by side, having tea, unhurried and non-judgmental. Just 2 people trying to understand what it is to exist and what happens when we're no longer here. What you believe won't be contested. What you feel will be respected. And who knows, if you allow yourself to stay with me until the end of this video, you might discover that you don't have to live with so much weight in your chest. That there's another way to prepare for the end that in truth is also a beginning. Now let's move on to a very important point, perhaps one of the most difficult: the fears we carry in silence. Yes, we all have fears, and when it comes to death, they take various forms, sometimes even contradictory. Some fear physical pain, others loneliness or emotional helplessness. Some are afraid of leaving loved ones behind. There are also those who are scared by the idea of nothing, or worse, the unknown. Fear of not having done everything they wanted, of not having forgiven, of leaving with unfinished business, with resentments, with unspoken words. What about you? What's your biggest fear when you think about the end of life? Don't worry. You don't have to answer aloud. Just acknowledge that fear within you. It's legitimate, and it can be embraced, transformed, healed. Louise Hay used to say that the fear of death is usually deep down, the fear of not having lived fully. It's not dying that scares, it's dying without having said, I love you. It's dying without having resolved that misunderstanding with someone you love. It's dying carrying resentments. Suffering often arises from what we put off, and what we might not even have been aware of. But what if I told you there's still time? That every day of your life, from today, can be an opportunity for lightness? That you can start right now a powerful process of emotional liberation? You can, little by little, begin to release invisible weights. You can start practicing forgiveness, forgiveness for others, forgiveness for yourself. You can start to be grateful for what you've lived, even if not everything was as you expected. Gratitude, by the way, is one of the most potent tools for healing deep wounds, and it has a transformative power, especially in the last years of life. Fear of loneliness? That's natural, but there are ways to deal with it. Open yourself to sincere connections, seek support groups, cultivate true conversations with those nearby. It doesn't have to be many people. 2 or 3 loving presences can completely change how you face the transition. Fear of pain? Yes, that's also common. But palliative medicine has advanced a lot. There are increasingly respectful care and practices for the end of life. Seeking this information can bring something precious, the feeling that you'll have support and dignity until the end. Fear of what comes next. That's the biggest one, and perhaps the most intimate. But remember, you don't have to have all the answers to feel peace. Sometimes knowing that many other people share the same doubts already brings some comfort. Knowing that you can leave with a clean heart, a light soul, and the certainty that you lived the best way you could, perhaps that's enough. Now imagine for a moment that your life is like a house you've built, little by little over the years. This house has memories, joys, pains, beautiful stories, and also some messes you might have avoided tidying up. What if I told you that this might be the ideal time to do a kind of inner cleansing? No, this doesn't mean desperately apologizing or trying to fix everything that was left unfinished. The message here goes far beyond that. It's about something deeper and sweeter, reconciling with your own story. Every small act of love you practice today has the power to illuminate not only others, but yourself. A hug you haven't given yet, a letter you never wrote, a phone call you've been postponing for years, a silent forgiveness. All of this counts. Because true peace at the time of departure doesn't come from certainty about what happens next. It comes from what's well resolved inside. Sometimes all we need is to look at that painful memory we've tried to hide for so long and say, I accept, I learned, I release. That simple phrase has as much power as 1,000 prayers. Because suffering isn't in the events, but in the stories we tell ourselves about what happened. There are people who manage to leave with a smile. Can you imagine what that means? It means they've made peace with life. They look back not with regret, but with understanding, not with heaviness, but with gratitude. And that changes everything. And even for those who still have many years ahead, this reflection is important. Because it's never too early to take care of our inner selves. Life becomes lighter when we let go of what no longer serves us. When we understand that the true legacy isn't in the things we leave behind, but in the emotions we cultivate. Louise Hay said something that deeply touched many hearts. Every thought you have is shaping your future. If that's the case, think with me. What kind of future do you want to shape for your last chapter? You can shape it with love, with clarity, with peace, with surrender. Start today with simple gestures. Tell that person you're sorry. Send a message. Forgive from afar, even if you never receive a response. It's not for the other person. It's for you. You can leave in peace. You can live the time you still have with lightness, and you can inspire others to do the same, just by your silent example. Partial conclusion. These 3 topics brought the heart of our video: the permission to feel, honesty with our fears, and the real possibility of transforming the passage of death into something less frightening and more human. If you've made it this far, breathe deeply once more. You're doing something courageous, facing, with care, the greatest of mysteries. Now imagine the following scenario. A person is in their last days of life. The room is silent, but not cold. Light softly enters through the window. There's a faint scent of lavender in the air. In silence, someone holds their hand. No need to say anything. Just be there. Presence, contact, respect. The environment where we die matters a lot. Caring for the body is essential, of course. But any healthcare professional will tell you, when farewell approaches, what leaves the biggest mark is the emotional field around that body. The tone of conversations, the energy of the people present, the sounds, the glances, even unspoken thoughts. Everything adds up and influences how the dying process will happen. Social psychology explains that we are strongly influenced by our surroundings, and this is especially true in life's most vulnerable moments. A tense environment full of judgment, fear, or anxiety increases suffering. In contrast, an environment of acceptance, affection, and serenity transmits security, even when the body no longer responds as before. If you are a caregiver, child, grandchild, or friend of someone at the end of life, listen to this with care. Your presence can be more important than any medicine. When you are truly present, without distractions, without a cell phone, without masks, you become a safe haven for the person departing. A gentle look can mean so much. A silent listening can heal pains that no painkiller alleviates. And if you are the one approaching your time, allow yourself to be surrounded by what makes you feel good. Old photographs, songs that soothed your youth, aromas that bring good memories. Simple elements can help create a microcosm of peace. And if there are no people nearby, remember, the affection you cultivated in your life continues to reverberate. It's like perfume. The essence remains, even after the person is gone. Studies show that people who die surrounded by love, affection, and acceptance feel less pain and less anguish. This is very real. Dying doesn't have to be a solitary act. It can and should be a shared, human, affectionate process. Louise said that the consciousness of love heals. Now think, if love heals, then love can also prepare for farewell. It can soften, embrace, cradle the soul at the exact moment of transition. This is something we all deserve, regardless of age, social status, or physical condition. Dying with dignity, surrounded by affection, is a basic human right, and you can help make that happen. So far, we've talked about life and death as natural stages, but there's something that has always pulsed in the human heart. The feeling that there's something greater. We are flesh, bone, science, yes, but we are also memory, intuition, presence, and perhaps, who knows, energy. Now close your eyes for a moment and try to remember someone who has passed away whom you deeply loved. It could be a grandparent, a mother, a friend. Feel in your chest what still remains. The scent, the voice, even the way they looked at you. That person is no longer here, and yet they are. That's the point. Even if we can't explain it precisely, there's a kind of invisible continuity that connects us to each other, beyond matter. You don't have to believe in reincarnation, heaven, or religious doctrine. We just need to open ourselves to the possibility that what we love, what was true, doesn't die. It transcends time, bodies, dimensions. Louise spoke delicately about this continuity. For her, death was just a moment of transition, a return home. And even for those who prefer skepticism, there's comfort in this image, because the idea that consciousness simply transforms can alleviate the weight of the end. Today, science already studies phenomena like near-death experiences, NDEs, and so-called expanded states of consciousness. There are profoundly similar accounts: tunnel of light, feeling of no longer belonging to the body, encounters with loved ones, relief, love, lightness. Instead of pain, many of these experiences describe a fullness difficult to put into words. Does this mean death is wonderful? Not necessarily. It just means it's not what we were taught to fear. Perhaps it's a kind of rebirth, an exchange, an energetic dance where the form changes. But what we are, in essence, continues. A very special phrase from Louise says, "We leave this plane in the same way we leave it at night when we go to sleep. We simply let go." If that's the case, then may this letting go be gentle. May it not be in despair, denial, or fear. May it be with surrender, with love, with understanding. Thinking about this, far from being morbid, can be liberating. It helps us live with more presence, to value the now, to abandon small fights and foolish resentments. Because if something continues, then it's worth leaving this world with a clean heart. And if nothing continues, then at least may we have lived with lightness. One way or another, it's worth living and leaving in peace. If you've made it this far, I want to tell you something with an open heart. Thank you. Thank you for allowing yourself to face such a profound topic. Thank you for your courage. Thank you for seeking wisdom where many avoid looking. This alone is an act of love, for yourself, for those who live by your side, for those who will come after you. Dying is inevitable, but suffering in silence, alone, with fear, it doesn't have to be. This video was made for you who feel time passing, for you who care for someone, for you who lost someone, for you who want to understand, for you who just feel you need to talk about this, but perhaps never found the right space. This is your place. We are a community, a space where talking about death is in fact an exercise in honoring life. Here, you won't be judged. Here you are welcome with your fears, doubts, tears, and questions that still have no answer. And now, I want to invite you to do something important. If this video touched your heart in any way, like it now. It seems simple, but it helps spread this message to other people who, like you, are seeking clarity, comfort, and meaning. Write in the comments what resonated most with you in this video. Share your story, your pain, or even your hope. This can be a light for those who are reading, because stories heal. After all, it's by sharing our experiences that we realize I'm not alone. And finally, subscribe to the channel, because in the next videos we'll continue bringing reflections, advice, and comfort on the great themes of the soul: finitude, gratitude, forgiveness, purpose, all with respect, depth, and a touch of tenderness. You deserve to continue this journey with us. Today you took a huge step. You looked within, you thought about death, and perhaps found life along the way. Who knows, right? The end can hurt, yes, but it can also teach. And when there's love, nothing truly ends. Subscribe to the channel and leave your like to access more stories like this. Until the next reflection, may peace be with you, and may even in silence you feel we are together.